You are completely obsessed with one person. Not just thinking about them, consumed by them. They live in your head rent-free, every single hour of every single day. And the worst part, you cannot turn it off. If this is you right now, stay with me because what I am about to share will change how you see this entire experience. And if this kind of deep psychological and spiritual truth helps you, subscribe right now because we go here every single week. Let me be direct with you. What you are feeling is not just love. It is not just attraction. It is an altered state of consciousness. Scientists who study the brain scanned people who were deeply, madly in love, and what they found was shocking. The brain of someone in this state looks almost identical to the brain of someone on cocaine. The same dopamine explosions. The same reward circuits lighting up like fireworks. The same desperate craving for more. This is not a metaphor. This is your actual neurology right now. Your brain has been hijacked. And the person you are focused on, they did not even have to do anything special to cause it. Your nervous system chose them. Your unconscious mind selected them. And now everything you do, every thought you think, every song you hear, it all leads back to them. But here is where it gets really interesting. Here is where psychology and spirituality stop fighting each other and start telling you the exact same thing. This intensity you feel, this madness, it is not a problem to be fixed. It is a signal to be decoded. Most people spend their energy trying to escape this feeling. They call their friends. They try to distract themselves. They make lists of the person's flaws. They tell themselves to move on. And none of it works. Because you cannot think your way out of something that is not primarily happening in your thinking mind. This is happening in your body. This is happening in the oldest, deepest parts of your brain. This is happening in something that mystics and ancient teachers called the soul. So let us start at the beginning. Why this person? Out of every human being on this planet, why them? Psychologists have a concept called imprinting. From a very young age, long before you could speak in full sentences, your nervous system was recording. It was recording what love feels like. What closeness feels like. What danger feels like. What home feels like. And it built a template. A hidden, invisible template of what a person must feel like for your system to recognize them as deeply significant. Some of those template pieces came from your parents. Some came from your early caregivers. Some came from moments of deep pain or deep joy that your conscious mind has long forgotten. But your unconscious forgot nothing. It kept every single data point. And then one day, maybe it was the way they smiled. Maybe it was the way they walked into a room. Maybe it was something as small as the specific way they laughed. And your unconscious system said, there. It's that one. That is the one that matches the template. And the flood began. This is not romantic fiction. This is how the human psyche actually works. The person you are obsessed with triggered a recognition deep inside you that went far beyond their personality, their appearance, or even their behavior. They matched something ancient in you. Something that was already there, waiting. This is why logic does not help you now. Because the part of you that chose them is not the logical part. The logical part came in after the fact and started building reasons. But the choosing happened first. In the body. In the gut. In that place below thought. Now here is where spiritual wisdom walks in and puts its hand on your shoulder. Every great spiritual tradition, from Sufism to Buddhism to the mystical branches of Christianity, they all recognize this intensity of love as a doorway. Not a problem. A doorway. The Sufi poets wrote about this obsessive longing, not as weakness, but as the closest thing a human being can experience to the divine pull. Rumi did not write about gentle, comfortable love. He wrote about a love that tears you open. A love that burns everything you thought you were to the ground. He wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." And he meant it literally. This tearing open that you feel right now. This is not damage. This is initiation. You are being initiated into a deeper understanding of who you are. And this is the part most people miss. The initiation is not about them. I know that feels impossible to believe right now. I know your mind is screaming that it is absolutely about them. But stay with me. What this obsession is actually doing, what it is really doing underneath all the pain and the longing and the 3 a.m. thinking, is showing you exactly where inside yourself you feel incomplete. The specific things that make you obsessed with this particular person are clues. They are not random. Every quality you adore in them, every single one, points to something in you. Something you are longing to develop. Something you have suppressed. Something you gave away years ago and have been searching for ever since. Carl Jung called this projection. When we see something in another person that moves us deeply, that makes us feel like we cannot breathe without them, it is almost always a quality that lives inside us but has been locked away. Maybe they seem free in a way you have always wanted to be free. Maybe they seem confident in a way you have been taught not to be. Maybe they carry a softness or a wildness or a certainty that you were told was not safe for you to carry. And when you see it walking around in them, it calls to you so powerfully because it is calling you back to yourself. This is not a small idea. This is one of the most transformative psychological and spiritual insights that exists. The person you cannot stop thinking about is holding up a mirror. And in that mirror, if you are willing to look, really look, you will see not just them. You will see the parts of yourself you have been searching for your entire life. But here is the danger. Here is where this experience, this beautiful, electric, maddening experience, can turn into something that causes real damage. If you outsource your wholeness to them, if you make them responsible for making you feel complete, if you decide, consciously or not, that your peace, your joy, your sense of self-worth depends on whether they choose you, you have just handed a stranger the remote control to your entire inner world. And no matter how wonderful they are, that is a weight no human being can carry for another. It will crush the relationship before it even has the chance to grow. It will make you behave in ways that are not you. Ways that push away the very thing you want. Because love, real love, cannot breathe under the weight of desperation. And desperation is just another word for "I need you to be okay." Now let us talk about the emotional fury. Because this is the part that frightens people. This is the part nobody wants to talk about in a clean, spiritual way. The rage, the grief, the absolute volcanic emotional chaos that lives right underneath the surface of this obsession. One moment you feel warm and full and certain that everything is going to be okay. The next moment, for no external reason, you feel like the floor has disappeared and you are falling through it. One moment you feel love so strong it almost hurts your chest. The next moment you feel anger so sharp you do not recognize yourself. This is not madness. This is not a sign that you are broken. This is your attachment system in full activation. When your attachment system is triggered, when someone has become deeply significant to your nervous system, your emotional regulation capacity goes down. The window of what you can feel without being overwhelmed gets much narrower. Small things feel enormous. A delayed reply feels like rejection. A different tone in their voice feels like disaster. An ambiguous word in a message becomes a sentence you analyze for 3 hours. You are not being dramatic. You are experiencing the actual physiological reality of what happens when the human attachment system is fully engaged. Your threat detection system, the ancient survival part of your brain, cannot tell the difference between a physical threat and the threat of losing this person. It responds the same way. It floods your body with adrenaline. It narrows your focus. It makes everything else seem unimportant. Because to your nervous system, in this state, losing them is a survival threat. That is why it is so hard to just relax and be normal. Your system is not in relaxation mode. Your system is in survival mode. And in survival mode, the brain does not do nuance well. It does not do patience well. It does not do strategic thinking well. It does desperate, immediate, intense, and it does those things very well. Now here is what the spiritual teachers and the psychologists both agree on, from different angles. You cannot heal this by pushing the feelings down. You cannot heal it by intellectualizing it. You cannot heal it by going numb. The feelings, even the fury, even the ones that frighten you, have to move through you. Not be expressed carelessly at other people. Not be acted out in ways you will regret. But moved through. There is a difference between feeling your anger and dumping your anger. There is a difference between sitting with your grief and drowning someone else in it. The practice, and it is a practice, not a one-time thing, is to let the feelings rise, feel them in your body, name them precisely, and then let them pass. Not push them. Not perform them. Let them pass. This is what every breath of meditation is training you for. This is what every moment of prayer is pointing toward. The capacity to be with what is, even when what is feels unbearable, without needing to immediately change it or escape it. Because when you can be with it, when you can sit in the storm of your own feeling without running, something extraordinary happens. The feeling completes itself. It does not go on forever. Nothing does. And when it completes itself, when it has moved all the way through you, what is left is not emptiness. What is left is clarity. And in that clarity, for the first time, you can see the situation as it actually is. Not as your fear sees it. Not as your longing sees it. As it actually is. And from that place of clarity, you can make choices. Real choices. Not reactive choices. Not desperate choices. Choices that come from the most grounded, most honest, most integrated version of who you are. And this is the still focused part. This is the part that sounds paradoxical, but is in fact the entire point. You can be madly in love. You can be emotionally alive and storming and feeling everything at full volume. And still be anchored in yourself. This is not the same as being detached. Detachment is armor. It is the thing wounded people build after being hurt too many times. It says, I will not feel this so that I cannot be destroyed by it. But this is not living. This is just a different kind of prison. What I am pointing toward is not detachment. It is rootedness. There is a tree that exists in some of the most storm-prone coastlines in the world. The winds hit it at full force. The whole crown of the tree bends dramatically, almost violently. But the roots hold. The roots were built for exactly this. And when the storm passes, the tree returns upright. That is what rootedness looks like in a human being. You feel everything. You bend, but you do not break. Because underneath all of it, underneath the love and the fury and the obsession, there is a version of you that knows who it is. That knows its own worth. That knows its own center. And that center, that root, does not depend on whether this person chooses you. It does not expand when they respond and shrink when they do not. It just is. Constant. Steady. Yours. Now I want to talk about something that psychology and spirituality both recognize, but that almost nobody discusses openly. The mirror effect of obsessive love. When you are fully focused on one person, not in a healthy romantic way, but in an obsessive, consuming way, you are not actually seeing them. You are seeing your own projected inner world reflected back at you through them. You have cast them in a role they may or may not actually fit. And the tragedy is, the more you project onto them, the less you are available to actually experience who they genuinely are. You fall in love with a story you wrote, and then you feel confused and betrayed when the real person does not match the character you invented. This is not a moral failure on your part. This is one of the most common and human things that exists. But it is worth seeing clearly. Because when you start to see it clearly, something shifts. The obsession, the consuming, suffocating intensity of it, starts to soften. Not because the feeling becomes less, but because you stop needing the other person to perform a role they never auditioned for. You start becoming curious about who they actually are, separate from your projection, separate from your need. And that curiosity, that genuine, open curiosity about another human being, is one of the purest forms of real love that exists. Real love says, I want to know you. Not the version of you I created in my mind. Not the version of you that confirms what I need to believe. The actual you, with your contradictions and your limitations and your humanness. I want to know that person. This kind of love does not obsess. This kind of love rests. It has urgency, but it is not frantic. It has depth, but it does not drown you. It sees the other person and feels moved by them without needing to possess or control the outcome. This is the love that the great mystics wrote about. Not comfortable love. Not safe, easy, no-risk love. Love that is fully alive and fully open, but rooted. Love that can look at another human being and feel everything, and still choose from a grounded place what to do next. So how do you get there? How do you move from the obsessive, consuming, emotionally chaotic place to the rooted, alive, clear place? The first step is the hardest. You stop feeding the obsession and start feeding yourself. This does not mean pushing the feelings away. It means redirecting your attention, not away from the feeling, but toward you. Every time your mind goes to them, what are they doing? What did they mean? When will they reach out? You gently, without judgment, bring it back. Not to emptiness, to yourself, to your breath, to your body, to your own experience of this moment. This is not about forgetting them. This is about remembering you. The second step is to let the emotional storm be witnessed. Not by them, that is the trap. That is the place that causes damage, calling them when you are flooded, sending messages at 2 am, saying things that push them further away. Let it be witnessed by you. By a journal. By a trusted person who can hold space without judgment. By a therapist if the intensity is genuinely disrupting your functioning. By silence, the radical, uncomfortable, necessary silence in which you sit with your own storm until it passes. The third step is the most transformative. Take the qualities you are projecting onto them, the ones that make you feel like you need them, and start asking yourself how you can build those qualities directly inside yourself. If you adore their confidence, where have you been shrinking in your own life? If you love their freedom, where have you been cagging yourself? If you admire their warmth, where have you been withholding your own? Every single thing you are looking for in them is a direction marker pointing inward. Follow it, not as a replacement for the relationship, but as the work that makes you genuinely, sustainably worthy of everything you desire. Because here is the deepest truth. And I want you to hear this not as a cliché, because I know you have heard versions of it before, but as something real and specific and true. The love you are capable of receiving from another person can only ever go as deep as the love you have already built for yourself. Not self-esteem in the shallow, motivational poster sense. Real self-knowledge. Real self-respect. The kind that comes from having faced your own storms and stayed present. The kind that comes from having felt your own pain without collapsing. The kind that comes from having made a commitment to your own becoming, whether or not any particular person shows up to validate it. That foundation, once built, changes everything. It changes how you love. It changes what you attract. It changes the quality of attention you bring into every relationship. Because you are no longer coming to love from hunger. You are coming from abundance. And love that comes from abundance does not grip. It does not grasp. It does not manipulate or perform or make itself smaller to avoid rejection. It offers, freely, fully, with everything it has. And it trusts, even in the uncertainty, that whatever comes back is exactly what is meant to come back. This is the spiritual understanding of love that has outlasted every civilization. That love is not a transaction. Love is not a negotiation. Love is the full expression of who you are, offered without guarantee of return. And the paradox is, the less you need it returned, the more magnetic you become. Not because you are performing security, but because you have actually built it. Real security. Real rootedness. The kind that shows. The kind that other people can feel the moment they are near you. The kind that makes you someone a person wants to stay close to, not because you need them to, but because you are someone worth staying close to. So let me end with this. You are madly in love. That is real. You are emotionally alive and sometimes furious and overwhelmed by the storm of what you feel. That is real too. And underneath all of it, underneath everything, there is a version of you that is still here. Still present. Still capable of choosing. Not choosing not to feel, that is not the goal. Choosing how to move through the feeling with some dignity. With some self-awareness. With some respect for both yourself and the person you are focused on. Choosing to do the internal work this experience is inviting you to do. Choosing to become, through this intensity, because of this intensity, more you. Not less. More rooted. More clear. More capable of the kind of love that does not destroy, but builds. That does not obsess, but sees. That does not need, but chooses. Every single day. With open hands. This obsession you feel right now. It contains a gift. It is wrapped in pain and confusion and 3 a.m. thoughts. But inside it, if you are willing to look, is one of the clearest maps back to yourself that you have ever been given. Follow it inward. Not toward them. Toward you. That is where the answer has always been. That is where it will always be. If this moved something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it right now. Subscribe if you want to go deeper every single week. And I will see you in the next one.